What's up, passionate Pokemon players? I'm Ryan, and we're here for another episode of the Hawks Pokemon Nest. Today, we're going to get into our first deck with cards from the Black Bolt and White Flare era. We are getting into Electivire, which is a Destined Rivals card, and I started building this deck before the set dropped, and then as soon as it dropped, I added in a couple cards that pretty much do what I wanted to do, but better. So we're going to get into the whole deck profile and overview. This time we'll go into each card, why include it. Then we'll get into the strategy, strengths, and weaknesses of the deck. Then we'll close with some other cards to consider swapping into the deck. So let's go. Okay, now before we get started, I had a late addition to this that I realized during my demo that's not going to be on the list for the rest of when I'm going through these cards, but I didn't want to re-record the whole thing. I thought it was, pretty good. Other than that, is this Ignition Energy. I figured, like, this actually, wow, like, it goes perfectly with Electabuzz. If this card's attached to one of your Pokemon, discard it at the end of your turn, but as long as it's attached to a Pokemon, it provides 1 energy, and if it's to an evolution, it provides 3 energy. So what the heck? Remember, on our Electivire, if I can get to him, Electivire high voltage press, 2 electric, 1 colorless. If it has at least 2 extra energy attached of any type, it does 100 more damage. So basically you need 2 energy plus our Ignition Energy, and we're gonna hit for 280. Like, oh boy, we are cooking now. So I added that one in. For the rest of this piece here, you're not going to see the Ignition Energy on the list, but it is in the list, and the list in the description also has the correct one there too. Alright, and as always, we've got the deck list up on the left hand side. It's also, of course, in the description of the video. You can copy and paste that into TCG Live to export all of the cards in there. So anyway, what have we got here? The main Pokemon that we are using is Electivire EX. From the Destined Rivals set, 280 HP, Stage 1 Pokemon. He's got 2 attacks, and we'll be using both of them depending on where our opponent is at. They're actually, well, a rare time where it's kind of like, which attack's better? So, Dual Bolt for 2 energy does 50 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. So, not too bad, right? Does 50 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. That'll help you just take out some of these basics in a couple turns, or maybe even 1 turn, depending on how much HP it has. And it only costs 2 energy. Now, then though, its big dog attack, as I like to call it, is high voltage press. So it's 180 plus. So if this Pokemon has at least 2 extra energy attached, in addition to the attack's cost, this attack does 100 more damage. So you do need 5 energy, but then you're going to be able to hit for a whopping 280 damage. So not too bad at all. Honestly, it's pretty rare that I've actually hit that, but it's actually allowed me to finish off games before. So pretty good. So anyway, let's start from the top here. We've got Electabuzz. I really like this particular one because of collect, draw a card if it gets stuck inactive, and honestly, Magnum Punch for 40 is not bad for 2 energy if it gets stuck. The Electabuzz does have 90 HP as a basic, which is kind of good and bad. It's good because he's a little bit beefier than some of your basics, but bad because you also can't get him with the Buddy PAF, which we'll talk about as we get into here. Okay, now, I actually decided I like this guy too. Electivire non-EX. Now this one does Electro Slug, does 40 damage for 1 energy, and now Unleash Lightning is a very interesting attack. It only costs 2 energy and does 220 damage, but check out the caveat to this. During your next turn, your Pokemon can't attack, including new Pokemon that come into play. So this is kind of a crazy move. Like, you're going to be able to hit 220 damage for just 2 energy, but then next turn you can't attack at all. So it's one that I don't always like to use, but honestly, like, if I'm in the beginning of the game and I know, like, if it's worth taking out a Pokemon with, like, let's say I used Electro Slug or maybe even Magnum Punch for 40, and then now I'm going to take out, like, a Stage 1, because that'll be 260 total. Some Stage 1s, I might take out some base. If it's worth it, basically, you can go ahead and use it. So I've got it kind of in my back pocket. I'm playing 2 of these ones, whereas I'm playing 4 of the other Electabuzz and 3 of these. So I've kind of considered if I just want to go up to 4 of these guys, but so far it's gone pretty well for me, so I think I'll stick to where I'm at. Okay, now we've got Tynamo Tynamo. So this one's actually the new card I added, and I kind of removed some stuff as it went in there. This one and the Electric. So Tynamo, 40 HP, very squishy, hold still, heal 10 damage. You're never going to do that, but it's got free retreat cost, so that's not bad. But then Electric, it's back. Dynamotor. So remember, we had the Mareeps had Dynamotor. Now we have Electric with the same ability. Once during your turn, you may attach a basic lightning energy from your discard pile to one of your benched Pokemon. So not bad. So who do we want to attach it to? Electivire or Electabuzz, because that's going to help us get up to that 5 energy. And also knowing that we have, you know, if the energy's in our discard pile, not bad. How are we going to get energy to our discard pile? Well, with my favorite draw engine, Revavroom. So Revavroom's rumbling engine is you're going to discard an energy from your hand and draw until you have 6 in hand. This works really well because we're going to get that energy into discard, use Dynamotor to attach that energy to Electivire. So pretty straightforward in all of that. It obviously needs those 3 pieces to work together, one of each on your bench, so that you can get that. But hey, if you get all of those together, then you are going to be flowing pretty well with this deck. So let's get into the trainers now. Okay, so, oops, we're a little too far. So we've got the Earthen Vessel. Obviously, we want energy in hand, not just to attach, but we also, of course, want to be able to use Revavroom's ability. So the cool thing, Earthen Vessel, discard a card. Shoot, you may even just discard an energy. Grab 2, attach 1, use Rumbling Engine to go from there, right? Electric Generator. This one's kind of an interesting one. I do whiff on it quite a bit, especially later game, because the Earthen Vessels are kind of pulling 2 from. So I don't hit it a ton, but I do hit on it. It's a good card to have. I mean, if you're running a deck like this, I think you may as well. Then I've got 4 Nest Balls. Nest Ball over the Buddy PAF, and in this case, because obviously the Electabuzz we can't pull with them, we can't with Buddy PAF, so we've got 4. I kind of almost want to like add 2 Poffins in there, but I don't know what I would remove. Night Stretcher, we always love our 4 Night Stretchers, especially in this case. Sometimes we may put too many energies in the discard, especially if one of our 5 energy Electivires gets KO'd. We're going to want to pull some of those back, or Pokemon as well. Tried and true 3 Ultra Balls. Then I've got 4 Arvens. Now, I don't know anymore if this is the best one. Before I had the Electric in there, I was actually running 3 Power Glasses. So the Arven worked really well to pull them up, but I still like them because we do still run a few tools that we'll get into in a second. So we've got Boss's Orders, 3. And then Air Balloon, ooh, it's back too. So before this, I was running the, obviously like the, it's funny because it's the first time I had ever run that, what the heck is it? The little skateboard that reduces retreat cost by 1, right? It was the first time I'd ever run it. And then I'm like, well, I mean, Black Bolt, White Flare out, so let's go back to the Air Balloon, which 2 retreat costs less. So the cool thing about that is, basically now my Revavroom has 2 retreat costs. It's free, whereas the I think it was Rescue Board or something. I don't know. I don't think it's Rescue Board, but anyway, whatever it was, I still needed 1 energy. So now basically I've got a free retreat cost. With that, obviously I'm also going to want to throw that on my Electric too, which also has 2 retreat costs. So I'm running 3 of the Air Balloons, right? Am I running 3? Yeah. I was like, do I have 4? And then Max Belt. So that's my other tool that I still have in here. Max Belt is really good on the Electabuzz because, or Electivire, because we can go up to 230 damage, which is going to knock out most basic EXs without the extra damage. And then if we go up to 280 with the 5, then that's going to be 330, which is going to knock out most stage 2. So I feel like this one's kind of the only option we really want in terms of a spec in this deck. Then, of course, I've got my 11 basic energy. I had 12 and 3 Power Glass, but I needed 4 slots for the Electric and Tynamos. In terms of the strategy, strengths, and weaknesses, I think your number one priority is getting an Electivire on the bench. Maybe, maybe not. If you start off, I usually try to start off, obviously, with it in the with an Electabuzz in the active, because I don't want my Varoom or my Tynamo in the active and getting knocked out. So, you know, kind of prioritizing that. I don't know, maybe you want to get your Varoom out there first. I mean, it's between the Electabuzz and the Varoom. You kind of want to decide on which one you want on bench if you have to choose one, especially considering Nest Ball only lets you pull one, right? And then from there, once you evolve your Revavroom, your priority is just getting an energy in hand every turn, whether it's through Night Stretcher to grab one back from the discard, or priority would be obviously to use your Earthen Vessel, if of course you don't have one already. Right? The strengths is it's a pretty flexible deck because of the dual bolt and high voltage press. Say that 5 times. So you can kind of choose to, if you want to hit their bench, if you want to get their active. A lot of times too, I might, like if I know I'm not going to knock out their Pokemon, I might hit a dual bolt, boom, put 50 on the bench, 50 on active, and then next turn high voltage press is going to knock that one out, and their bench has already got the 50 damage. So kind of think about it in that way for sure. Whereas like, what's my best move here? Especially considering the dual bolt is usually going to be first. I mean, sometimes even when I've got 3 energy attached, I'm still just going to be knocking off their bench. You can also try to trap Pokemon in active as well that have got those high retreat costs and make them waste a switch card or retreat in other ways. And sometimes they just get stuck there. So this is a really flexible card. It actually worked a little bit better than I expected, as a lot of these decks have been lately. It also has a really good engine. I mean, Eelektrik and Revavroom are just a really good combo in terms of getting an energy into discard and then just throwing that energy right on to one of our Pokemon, Electabuzz, and then knowing that the Electabuzz needs 5. So you're usually ready because of this ability to, at the very least, use a dual bolt when our Electivire comes into the active after a knockout. But, you know, we'll see. So the weakness, you do have to obviously think about energy management. Like, it's really cool to get high voltage press hitting for 280, but that is 5 energy that's now in our discard. And I mean, Dynamotor is great, but remember that you're only using that once. So if you've got no energy in hand at all to attach, and they're all in the discard, which I've gotten to like 8, 9 in discard, and then I've got a couple prize, so I've got to be really careful about that. Something that you definitely want to keep in mind. Another weakness is that you can get hand locked. Like, your only draw engine is going to be the Revavroom, right? So knowing that we need to evolve a Varoom just to get him there can be a challenge sometimes, knowing that we have to get a Nest Ball, then we have to get an Ultra Ball, so it can be a challenge. But you know, it is what it is. When it happens, then cool, we're there. And then bench damage, especially on the Tynamo. If you can't get this guy evolved, he's really a sitting duck. Varoom's not too much of an issue. You definitely need to get this bad boy evolved quickly if you're going up against Dragapult decks, because they're just going to knock him out, and then you're never going to get a draw engine going. So that's going to be a challenge. So bench damage can be an issue if you can't get this deck going, specifically the Varoom, which is why I really say, like, evolving to Revavroom should be your priority, even over evolving into an Electivire and getting the Dynamotor going, because you know you're just not going to work. Like, the deck can still work without the Dynamotor, you know, really well. This one's just kind of like helping you speed things up, but you're not going to win the match if you don't have him up. You're just going to get hand locked. You're going to be drawing 1 per turn. We don't have Ionos, researches, none of that, unless our opponent wants to help us with an Iono. And let's talk about some other cards to consider swapping into the deck. First one I thought of would be the Miraidon, right? Miraidon has tandem unit, so it's just going to let you search for 2 basic lightning Pokemon, put them on your bench. I mean, what better is there than that? Just to get ourselves our Electabuzz and our Tynamo on bench. So then you're using your Nest Ball to grab them. It's not a bad move. especially then you've got Photon Blaster that's going to hit for 220, and you can kind of Dynamotor up from there on it if you're not doing the Electabuzz. It's actually one, the more I think about it, as I often do when I'm doing these profile videos, is like, I probably want to find a way to get this guy in the deck. So I may do that. Of all of the cards, I think this one's good. Power Glass obviously would be the next idea. This one worked before the Dynamotor and the Electric came out. It's solid. I mean, it's a way of getting energy from discard onto your Electabuzzes and Electivires, but the problem is it's the end of your turn. So a lot of times, you know, you need the turn before. You know, by the time you get to 5, like that Electivire is going to get knocked out. And sometimes it's just a complete waste. You know, I'm at 3, I get to 4. Like, what did this do for me? So I'm really glad that the Dynamotor came out. It really just took this deck up to the next level. I was working on it, like I said, before this set dropped, so I didn't even think about the Dynamotor. I did know that I was getting the Air Balloon, so that was nice. But anyway. Then another one to think about would be the Bellibolt. You know, it's a solid 280 HP Stage 1 Pokemon. As often as you'd like, attach a basic energy from your hand to one of your Iono's Pokemon, which obviously includes the Iono's Bellibolt. So this one would be one, maybe we want to swap out the... Maybe we want to swap out the Electrics and throw it onto this one, and then throw on some energy switches, but that's a lot. I mean, that's at minimum 6 cards if you were to go 2-2-2 with the Tadpole, Bellibolt, and energy switch. Obviously, the Electric is just a lot more synergetic, if that's a word. So I went with that. Then from there, one to think about is everybody's favorite Pokemon is the Joltik. Joltik has the Jolting Charge, where we search for 2 basic Grass and 2 basic Lightning energy. Attach them to your Pokemon. Now remember this, in terms of the Electivire, he doesn't need full-on Lightning energies. Both of its attack just can use 1 colorless. And in fact, the High Voltage Press... Actually, let me kind of come back down. High Voltage Press says if this Pokemon has at least 2 energy attached. So it doesn't need to be 2 extra electric energies. So it's actually an interesting one to think about would be to go with Joltik. That can load, we can swap out a couple of our lightning energies for Grass, probably even 4. And then we can load 4 straight up onto him, and then we just need 1 more from hand. It's a pretty interesting idea. I don't know if it would work, and I haven't tested it, but if anyone wants to test that, let me know in the comments if it worked out for them. It could be a good idea to get this deck like really jolted and charged. Alright, well that's going to do it for this episode of the Hawks Pokemon Nest. Hope you enjoyed this one. We're going to get into our first battles at the end of the week. Make sure that you stay tuned for Friday's video. It'll be our first Black Bolt White Flare battles of this era. I've already done a few, so I'm not extremely high up there. Let me check now, as I never get that high, but I'm in the... no, I'm still in the Quick League. Oh man, so I haven't done that many battles. So we'll get into that. We'll be moving up this ladder as we go. But if you liked what you saw, make sure you hit that subscribe button and become part of the Hawks Nest, a fearless flock of fabulous folks who love to do what we love. Excited to get into these battles for next time. Make sure that you stay tuned, and we're going to do it. But until then, we'll see you next time.